All right, so we are going to be working on writing and solving inequalities today. So if you want, you can meet me on slide 5, and I will go over the example problem for today. So if you notice on slide 5, it looks like there's two problems that we're comparing here, and we are going to be comparing two problems, okay, as we go through today's slides. You'll notice that these slides, or the problems, are going to be almost exactly the same with a very minor detail that's going to be different. Okay, so let's look at our first example problem on the left-hand side. It says Giselle has $200 in her savings account and she spends $15 a week on gas. Giselle wants to limit her spending and stop when she has $50 left in her account. Part A says, write an equation to represent how many weeks it will take for Giselle to reach $50 in her account. Okay, well, I know that she starts with $200 in the account. 200. Now she spends $15 a week on gas. So if she spends $15 a week, that means we are subtracting 15x. Okay, so or $15 every week. Now her goal is to reach $50. She only wants $50 left in the account. So I know that it has to be equal to 50. So it's kind of like a total $50. So this is the equation that we're going to write for Giselle in order for her to reach $50 in her account. Part B says, when will Giselle have exactly $50 left in her account? Okay. So this is when we're going to take the equation and we're actually going to solve this. So make sure you have your notes out and we'll solve this one together. So it says 200 minus 15x is equal to 50. So I'm going to draw my line down my equal sign. So what we've been doing in the past month is we've been solving for y. In this case, there are no y's. The y variable is not there. But we are going to be solving for x instead. Okay, so I want to get this x right here by itself. So what I notice is I have 200 to start with. I'm taking away 15x's and it's got to equal 50. So to cancel out 200, I've got to subtract 200 because that 200 is already positive. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. So I've got to subtract 200 here. So this 200 minus 200 is equal to 0. I do have my minus 15x still left, and it's equal to, well, on this side, I have 50 minus 200. Now I can go ahead and take away 50 minus 200. You can use your calculator for this if you'd like. It is negative 150. Okay. So my new equation is negative 15x is equal to negative 150. All right. So again, kind of like solving for y, my goal is to this time solve for 1x. So if I have negative 15x's, I need to know how much 1x is worth. My next step is to divide by negative 15. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 15 because negative 15 divided by negative 15 is equal to positive 1. You can use your calculator to check that. And then I'm going to take negative 150 and I'm going to divide it by negative 15, which gives us positive 10. So it says 1x is equal to 10. And in this case, the x's are representing the weeks. So it took Giselle 10 weeks until she has $50 left in the account. So the last step is to graph that answer on the number line below. So if you look, there's actually no numbers on the number line. You have to put the numbers in here. So we are going to use our answer from part B, which was 10 weeks, and we're going to put 10 in the middle box. Okay. And then kind of like a number line, you read it from left to right. So before 10 comes 9, and then after 10 comes 11. Now, since it took her exactly 10 weeks to have $50, I'm going to take my equals to symbol, which is the closed circle, and I'm going to place that right on top of 10 because it took her exactly 10 weeks to reach $50. So that is how we would work the left side, okay? Now, the right-hand side is going to sound exactly the same. There's going to be a difference, so let's look. Giselle has $200 in her savings account, and she spends $15 a week on gas. So far, pretty much the same. Giselle wants to limit her spending and wants no less than $50 in her account. No less than. So this is where the difference is. So in problem 1, it says that she has $50 left in her account. Like she wants to have that $50. Okay. This one says she wants no less than $50. So this could be different amounts possibly. So part A says, write an inequality that represents how many weeks it will take for Giselle to have no less than $50 in her account. Okay, so let's think about it. An inequality. Now, if you don't remember what inequality means, I'm going to underline and highlight this. It's super important. Okay, let's look at what inequalities we're talking about. So these are the 4 major inequalities. You have a greater than symbol, you have greater than or equal to, you have less than, or less than or equal to. I suggest that you go ahead and pause the video here and that you write these down in your notes because you will be using them for the next couple of weeks. So greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So let's look at what we have in our problem here. It says she wants no less than $50. So let's think. If she wants nothing less than $50, does that mean she wants more than 50? Or does she want less than 50? She definitely wants more than $50 left in that account. So when I go back and I look at my inequalities, which symbol represents more than 50? Probably going to be something in the greater than. So then you have to decide because there's 2 different greater thans. There's greater than or there's greater than or equal to. So if she wants no less than 50, does that mean she can also have $50 in the account? Yes, so in that case, it's going to be greater than or equals to. So this is the symbol that we are going to be using. Now notice she starts with 200 again. She spends $15 a week on gas and she wants no less than 50. So when we set up the inequality, it's going to be pretty much the same setup as what our first problem for part A was, except instead of an equal sign, we're now going to use that greater than or equals to. So we're going to have 200 minus 15x is greater than or equal to 50. Now notice I don't have the little equals to, so to get that symbol, you just highlight the sign and you hit the U, the underline sign, and it'll go ahead and put the equals under there for you. Okay. All right. So next up it says, when will Giselle have no less than $50 in her account? Okay. Well, kind of like in our first problem, we solved the equation. In this case, we're going to solve the inequality. So make sure to have your notes out for this one. And let's go ahead and solve. So we have 200 minus 15x is greater than or equal to 50. Ooh, that's a horrible line, but that's okay. All right. So again, my goal is to get this 1x by itself. Okay. So I'm going to solve again. I have a positive 200, and to cancel that out, I'm going to take away 200. And what I do to one side, I have to do it to the other side. So the solving, if you notice, is pretty much the exact same. Okay. So now I have my new equation. This makes 0 because 200 minus 200 is 0. I have a minus 15x. And instead of an equal sign, I'm going to have my greater than or equals to. And again, 50 minus 200, you can use the calculator if you need to. It's going to be negative 150. So my new equation is negative 15x is greater than or equal to negative 150. And my goal is to figure out how much 1x is worth. Okay, so kind of the same thing here. So since I have negative 15 of them, to get to 1, I'm going to divide by negative 15. And notice that I am dividing by a negative symbol here because it is a negative up here. If I were to divide negative 15 by positive 15, I would still get negative 1. So remember that whatever number this is has to match the number that you're dividing by. So then I'm going to divide the other side also by negative 15. Okay. So in this case, negative 15 divided by negative 15 equals to 1. And negative 150 divided by negative 15 equals to 10. Now, one note, and you need to make sure that you write this down, okay, is we divided by a negative sign on both sides of the equal sign, or the inequality sign. So because we divided by a negative number, we have to take this inequality and we have to flip it. This is, maybe you've heard of it as like the golden rule of inequalities, and it only happens when you divide by a negative symbol. So let's write that down. And make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so when you divide an inequality by a negative number, you flip the inequality symbol for the final answer. You can go ahead and pause the video and get that copied down. Now remember, this only happens when you divide by a negative number. If we had divided by like a positive 15, then this inequality would stay a greater than or equals to symbol. And I already made a mistake. I said flip and I never even flipped it. So we're going to make sure that this is a less than or equals to. Originally it's greater than or equals to, but now it's going to be less than or equals to. Okay, and let's look. So when I go back here, it says, when will Giselle have no less than $50 in her account? So X represents the number of weeks. So it could be X is less than or equal to 10 is going to be our answer. And again, to get the equals to, we're going to highlight and underline it. And we're going to put weeks at the end of that. So anywhere that is less than or equal to 10 weeks is how many weeks she can continue spending money on gas. So what we're going to do for our number line is kind of the same thing as our original one. We're going to put 9, 10, and then 11. And because it's equals to, we're going to continue using our closed circle. And it's equal to 10. And then because it's also less than 10, it could be any number that is less than 10. So I'm going to add an arrow going from the left side, pointing towards that it could be 10 or anything less than 10. And I'm going to make that line just a little bit bigger. So this is how we are going to be solving and graphing our inequalities. If you have any questions, don't forget to ask your teacher. Have a good day.